Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate being here with you today and our colleagues this morning. As you've noted, this is our first markup in the Veterans Affairs Committee in which some members are participating and voting remotely. We are in extraordinary times, and we have all had to adjust accordingly. We have adjusted over these last few months in order to continue meeting safely in this room, conducting the people's business, in this case, the veterans' business, just like our constituents elected us to do. The House is in session this week, voting this week. Most members are here in D.C., and there's ample room to accommodate them safely in this hearing room. I do not believe it's appropriate for members to vote virtually. I do not believe it's necessary for members in D.C. to participate from their offices rather than from their seats on this dais. And I hope that this is both the first and last markup in this committee where virtual participation occurs. That said, there are 12 bills under consideration today, and I will be supporting all of them. Each one of these bills is intended to create a better system of care, benefits, and services for our nation's veterans, all of our nation's veterans. One of those bills, H.R. 3010, the Honoring All Veterans Act, which is sponsored by Congresswoman Rice, which I've co-sponsored, ensuring that the increasing number of women serving in uniform are welcomed, respected, and well cared for. That there are signs that the focus has yielded real results, with women veterans now expressing greater trust in the Department of Veterans Affairs than ever before. However, unacceptable discrepancies in care still exist. Women wait longer on average for care than male veterans. I do not understand that. And they experience higher levels of sexual harassment and abuse than male veterans. I do understand that, both in the military and after. That makes women less likely to feel safe and welcome at VA and more likely to delay or miss care according to studies by VA's own researchers. Having President Lincoln's full quote with its respected use of the male pronoun, repeated use of the male pronoun, serving as the VA's mission statement or motto did not cause those discrepancies. Changing it to replace him and his with those will not solve them either. That said, words matter. President Lincoln first spoke of him who shall have borne the battle and his widow and his orphan in his 1865 during his second inaugural address. It would be more than 83 years before women were formally recognized as permanent members of the armed forces. Today, 155 years later, women comprise the fastest growing demographic of both the military and veteran populations. President Lincoln's words have an unquestionably important place in both our country's history and VA's history. They inspired the system of support for veterans that became the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they continue to inspire those of us who are passionate about fulfilling America's solemn obligation to the men and women who serve in defense of our freedom. But by VA's own admission, the department only started using it as a motto in 1959. Congresswoman Rice's bill would create a mission statement in the statute for VA, which would reference President Lincoln's words, never changing, of course, thus continuing to give them an appropriate central role and place of honor within the department, but not quote them directly. That mission statement would read, quote, to fulfill President Lincoln's promise to care for those who shall have borne the battle and for their families and caregivers and survivors, end quote. Let me tell you why this was easy for me, Mr. Chairman. We were doing one of these remote hearings, and I couldn't get WebEx to work, and I was in my car, and I listened to that, and I thought all you have to do is change one word, those, because women now are going to be 20% of the military, and I want to honor everyone. I'm passionate about that, honoring everyone who has served this great country, so this was so very easy for me. I support this bill in recognition of the millions of women who have raised their right hands in service throughout the history of this great country, in gratitude for their bravery, their service, their sacrifices, and their contributions to our national defense, and as a sign of my commitment to continuing to work to honor all of those, as President Lincoln said, who have borne the battle. It is in that vein that I will also offer an amendment to another bill on our agenda this morning to hold those who commit acts of vandalism or destruction to veterans' cemeteries, monuments, or memorials accountable. A grateful nation's commitment to honoring her veterans doesn't end with death. Rather, it ensures through the ages, just like the values those veterans fought for, values like life, liberty, and justice for all. That's why I'm disturbed when I see sites honoring veterans, including the World War II Memorial just blocks from here, harmed by individuals taking advantage of peaceful protests or moments of civil unrest to commit criminal acts. The right of the people to peacefully assemble to petition their government for a redress of grievances is enshrined in the First Amendment of the Constitution. It would not exist if it were not for the blood, sweat, and tears of veterans of every age, race, gender, and religion who have fought to defend it for generation after generation. Every single one of us on this committee has had an opportunity to visit veteran cemeteries. We've heard the stories of brave men and women resting peacefully there. We have read the names and dates on their gravestones. We have seen the flowers, the pictures, the mementos left behind by those still mourning their loss and missing them deeply. We know that this is hallowed ground. It should be respected, and as we know, no cause, no matter how righteous, will be furthered by anyone who seeks to desecrate the sacred final resting place for our nation's veterans and heroes. My amendment would require those knowingly damaged grave sites or memorials located in federal veteran cemeteries or in state or tribal veteran cemeteries who receive grant funding from VA to pay a fine, serve jail time, or both. That is a slightly lower standard than what currently exists in law, which I believe is appropriate given that we're talking about individuals who vandalize, damage, destroy, or commit other criminal acts against, of all things, a cemetery where our heroes are laid to rest. I will offer the amendment to Congressman Sablon's bill, H.R. 5487, the Veteran Cemetery Grants Improvement Act, since that bill and my amendment both concern cemetery issues. I look forward to debating the amendment later, and it has the support of all committee members. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your indulgence, and I yield back my time.